Hey everybody, it's Alodie coming to you from my quarantine room. I'm currently just providing these virtual classes until we can meet together physically in the same space. So thank you for joining me and watching these videos and hopefully keeping your practice going in this time that we all really can need our yoga practice. This is the yoga off the mat. So we're part of the Shine Yoga Collective. That's our channel on YouTube. And if you are following that and you like to subscribe, that's very helpful to us. It just brings a little more attention to the studio and to our collection. So you can go to the top, go kind of to the right and hit subscribe, and you'll see all the new videos come up as you go as well. We're currently offering all this just in the spirit of continuing yoga with no charge at all. But if you would like to donate, if you feel moved to donate, there is that option on our website and I think on the channel as well. All that said, we're going to be doing a pretty gentle class. This is meant to mimic our gentle joint and spine class, similar idea of really making poses nice and accessible so we can focus on the actions and not putting a lot of weight on the joints and creating lots of length in the spine. And hopefully will be about an hour, so that's the goal. Before we go to the floor, I'm going to show you a few things that we're going to do on the floor. Hopefully you can see me as we get started. I've been playing with that setup. But before you do come to your back into constructive rest, we're going to center for a moment, just breathe and kind of arrive in our space. And then we're going to do a few arm motions. So first we're just going to reach straight to the ceiling as if you have these robot arms. And we're just going to retract and protract the shoulder blades. So not a big movement, but starting to move the arm bones here, forward and back. And after we do a few of those, we're going to bring our fingertips to our kind of the tips of the collarbones here. We'll do a few circles. And you can do one at a time or both at the same time. We'll go both directions. Good. And I'm going to do one more thing on our back. We'll do it with our legs. So all we're going to do is imagine I'm on my back. This is a 90-degree bend. So from the floor, I'm going to bend the knee in towards me, keep this this angle. I'm going to extend. I'm going to point and flex the foot and bring it back down. We're going to do that 5 times. So it'll look kind of like this. Extend the leg as much as you can, point, flex, bend, and come back down. So just starting to work that femur and the hip socket and getting the ankles moving a little bit and getting the joints warmed up. I think that's all for now. So we're going to come to the ground. Before we do, I just want to point out and just remind you that if anything at any time feels painful, uncomfortable is okay, as long as there's no pain, no pinching, no burning, nothing going on in the joints that's not allowing you to breathe deeply. So if you can breathe deeply, normally that's a good indicator that you're okay and that maybe you just can breathe through some of the work you're doing. So find that balance for yourself between your mind telling you can't do it and your body saying, back off, I shouldn't be doing this. So you can kind of make that distinction for yourself. All right, let's come to our backs. Hopefully you can see, but you know where we're going, so you don't really need to. And lastly, sorry, I should have showed you. I'm set up by a wall here, and I have my mat pretty close to the wall. So we're going to use the wall as an option. I also have a chair here, which you can use or you don't need to, and we don't really need any other props. I'm trying to do this as simply as possible. So as long as you have a wall, I do have a mat here, but you could also do that without a mat. So if you want to pause and arrange yourself or grab any props, you can take a moment. That's the beauty of this video yoga, is you can take a moment at any point and do whatever you need to do. After you have that all gathered, let's come to our backs. And we're just going to be in this constructive rest position. So I have my feet as wide as my mat and my knees kind of knock-kneed in towards one another. If that feels good, that'll provide a lot of space for your low back. And then just kind of lie back, hands palms up or down, or you can place a hand on the belly and the heart. So you're going to place the hands wherever it feels comfortable, wherever it feels like you can start to arrive without feeling any tension. Just take a moment to find that spot for you. And if you'd like to extend the legs long, you can, if that feels good in the front of your hips. And once you find that position, just take a moment to just do a little bit of a scan of your mental space, your physical space. Just notice what's going on with you. Notice any areas that feel a little uncomfortable. Also notice what feels really good. And then we're going to just bring in the awareness of our breath to even center us, bring us into the present moment a little bit more. And just start to notice your breath if you haven't already. Start to notice the breath flowing in through your nostrils and coming out through the nose or the mouth, whatever feels better to you at this point in your practice. And you're just going to continue like that for these first few rounds, just watching the breath, being aware of your breath as it flows in and flows out. And just this simple act of focusing our attention on the breath, it brings an element of meditation, of mindfulness into this practice, just by starting to let that other stuff be outside and bringing your full focus into the flow of your breath. I'm going to bring even more attention to our breath as we start to lengthen and deepen that inhale and also the exhale. So that next round of breath, bring that inhale in, maybe a little longer, a little deeper. And let that exhale be just as long as deep, so you're starting to even out the breath. And if that causes any tension, just stay with the breath you've already cultivated. But if you can start to bring that breath in a little more deeply, start to do that. And notice the power of the breath just without moving anything, to start to create some space in your physical body, some space in your mental state to arrive fully, some space to let go. As you inhale, feeling that expansion across the collarbones, across the rib cage in all directions. And as you exhale, just a little bit of settling in, a little bit of surrender into the earth. Let yourself get a little heavier. You're going to continue that pulsation of expansion and settling in for a few rounds. Just noticing what you notice, and if you wander off to another topic, another issue, another thing in your life, just come back gently to your breath. You can do that over and over throughout your practice. Stay here and breathe for just a few moments more. And now I want you to check in with your belly. So you might even put a hand on there, or just leave your hands at the side, but see if there's some movement of the belly as you breathe in. As you inhale, let that belly be soft so you can fill up and expand that tummy area, the low back. And again, as you exhale, navel just falls gently back toward the spine as you release that air. And just starting to create an invitation to bring that breath low and deep. And still filling the upper chest, the shoulder blade area, but bringing some of that breath down low as well, which starts to be very calming for your nervous system. Starting to tap into that relaxation. Plenty of time to add tension. This is a moment to just relax and arrive. Take just a couple more rounds of breath together. Deep, full inhale. And complete exhale, letting go to the nose or the mouth. Feel yourself expanding in all directions as you inhale. And feel yourself completely settling, getting heavy on your exhale. Start to add some of those movements. So you can stay exactly where you are. You can keep the legs bent or extend them. I'm going to reach those arms to the sky like we did robot arms. So just imagine I'm on my back, and we're just going to retract and protract the shoulders a little bit. So reaching forward, protract, let the shoulders round forward a bit, and retract those shoulder blades back as you hug back in. Just the arm bones moving forward and back a little bit so you can get the shoulders moving, warming up those joints. And you don't need to, this doesn't need to look any certain way, but trying to keep a pretty small movement. And notice if one side moves differently than the other. I definitely notice that. Do another one. Good. And then let's bring those fingertips to the tips of the collarbones, so just to your shoulders, lots of space, and start circling those elbows. You can do one at a time or both. I'm doing both so I can switch the other direction here in a moment. And same here, notice any differences side to side in the smoothness of this articulation. Go the other way. And they can be as big or as little as feels good. It should feel good whatever you're doing at this point in your practice, especially. Just moving, noticing, and it should feel good. Let's release the arms to the side. Now we're going to take those leg movements. So you can imagine I'm still on my back. I'm just coming up so in case you want to see me. And we're going to hinge at that hip crease. You're going to be that leg to kind of a knee 90 degrees. So my shin would be parallel to the earth. I'm just in a kind of a table leg here. Imagine I'm lying on my back. And then I'm going to do some extensions from that knee bend to start to extend that leg. Might not go straight, but as long as you can, you're going to point the foot, flex the foot, and rebend and release. You're going to do that same side 4 more times. Hinge up, extend, flex, point, flex, bend, lower. And you're moving with your own breath and at your own speed. It takes a little bit of coordination as well. I'm using the wall because I don't have the earth to support me. And kind of lost count where we are, so let's just do one more. I think we're at 4. Good. can do the same thing on the other side. So if you want to rock it out in between, you can. Otherwise, going straight to the other side so this hip stays nice and square. Extend as far as you can. My leg's not even close to straight. Flex that ankle, point, flex, and lower. And do that 4 more times. So as you're doing this, that foot will start to press towards the ceiling. Maybe it presses all the way straight, maybe not. And then that foot lowers back down. Let's do one more. Good. And release that all the way down. And before we come up, let's take a couple rounds of windshield wipers. So if you have the legs extended, bring them back to bend, feet as wide as your mat. Knees can go in towards one another. And then just let the knees walk all the way to the left and then all the way to the right. So you're just rolling on those blade edges of the feet. And if you want to linger one side or the other, you can. Good. Next time the legs go over to one side, whichever side you want to come up on, we're going to come all the way to standing actually. So you can just roll onto your side. You can use whatever you need for support, but come all the way up to standing. Good. You're going to be in Tadasana, mountain pose at the front of your mat. Just going to build our pose from the foundation up. We want to get steady before we move anything. So look at your feet and just see that those second toe mounds align with the center of the knee and with these hip points, these little bones that stick out a bit. You can probably feel them. And then stack the shoulders and the ears all in line. Just bring the hands to heart center for a moment. Close your eyes. Check in with your physical space, your emotional space. If you've wandered off, just come back to your breath. Let's release the arms down, and we'll do a few more arm variations standing. So keeping the feet grounded, we're just going to extend the arms up with the wrists flexing towards us, so the fingertips towards you. And then as you come back down, you're going to extend the wrists. Bring the fingertips back as far as you can. The palms go towards you. And palms go away. Getting those wrists more accustomed to this different movement. Okay, let's do one more. Let's hold the extension actually. So next time the arms come to the sky, from the steadiness of your base, just do some reaches side to side. You're finding as much length as you can first as you ground into that foot, and then a little side bend. But mostly length, lots of length. And if you want to take that reach into more of a diagonal, you can. You can rotate as you go. And let's release the arms back down. Now we're going to take an interlace of the fingers, and then press the palms away. As you press the palms away, the shoulders will probably go forward. Just bring them back a little bit and have some weight back over your hips. And if you notice yourself thrusting the hips forward, just bring that back a little bit as well. And I'm going to take this overhead, just slowly, mindfully, find that end range of motion where if you go further, you'll start to lose the steadiness of the hips, and that's your stopping point. So the arms might not be straight overhead, that's totally fine. Everyone's going to be a little different. Breathe here. If you want to look up, you can. Good. And let's release the arms back to the sides. Let's do a few shoulder rolls here. And let's really focus on the movement of the shoulders, so you can bring those arm bones forward, up, elevate, back, retract, down. Like you're drawing a little box with that shoulder, that head of the arm bone. Good, and let's go the other way. So now you're gonna hug the shoulder blades together as you go back, elevate towards the ears, go forward, and go down. It might feel a little different than your just dynamic shoulder roll. Let's do another one. And release back and shake it out. I'm going to do a couple cat-cow, but we're going to do it in skier's pose, bandhasana, and we're going to work to start to find that neutral spine. So my feet are still hip width, maybe a little bit wider for a nice wide base. And you're going to hinge the hip crease, sit the bum down a bit, and bring your hands to your thighs. I'm going to turn too. So I still can see my feet. I've got lots of steadiness in my base. You can always widen that. What I'm looking for here is this long neutral spine, little bit of low back curve extending long through the cervical vertebra and hinging right at the hip crease, so everything's open and spacious. I'm using my hands to really just press down so I can reach my heart, keep this whole heart space open. I'm going to do some little cat-cow tilts from here. So as you exhale, just round into what would be a cat back as you tuck the tail. And as you inhale, taking that tail back as you bring the heart forward. These little flexes and extensions of the spine, and you're moving with your breath. It doesn't have to be a big movement. Here we're just starting to move with our breath and find neutral spine. And remember what that feels like as we go through class, what a neutral spine feels like. Let's do one more cat back, what would be a tuck of the pelvis and around, and then press all the way up. Woo. Balance and shake it out. From here we're going to do a couple half sun salutations. So if you want to have something in front of you, either blocks or a chair, you can grab that. Just if it feels better to forward fold to some height. Let's start hands at heart center. And we're going to take a waterfall down. So we're going to have a bit of a bend of the knee as we come forward to forward fold. And let's reach up. As you exhale, trace your midline, start to hinge back with the hips, and just release into your forward bend. So the hands can be here on the chair, they can be all the way to the earth, trying to deeply hip hinge. We're gonna come up to halfway lift, half forward bend. So here, the idea is to find again that neutral spine. So as much of a knee bend as you need to find little low back curve, broadness across the heart. I need quite a bit of a knee bend, so do whatever it takes. There's no right or wrong. From our halfway lift, we're going to fold in again, let the head drop. And then we're going to press into the feet, come all the way up, extend the arms wide and high, and back through heart center. And do a couple more of those half sun salutations. So you don't need to have any props if you don't want to, or you can have that chair or blocks there. So let's start at heart center. Inhale, reach wide and high. Exhale, trace the midline as you hinge forward. Release the head. Come up halfway, neutral spine, and exhale, bow. Press into the feet. Let's come all the way up. Reach up. Hands to heart center. And then the next inhale, reach wide and high again. Trace the midline, bend the knees, hip hinge, release the head. Come up halfway. And exhale, release. Okay, let's come all the way up, press into the feet. Reach wide and high. And hands back to heart center. Good. I'm going to do a little bit of balancing and ankle joint mobility. So you might want to have something to hold on to, either a wall or a chair. So we're going to be moving the feet a little bit. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see me. So we're just going to do a rocking forward and back. So you're going to rock forward onto the toes, and then you're going to rock back onto the heels, let the toes lift a little bit. And you can do this without a wall. I don't know if I can, but maybe you can. And maybe that's a smaller movement, and then you're working more on that balance than maybe the range of motion of your ankles. And they're both good. Do a few of those, rocking back and forth. Sometimes it's just really sweet to use the wall for all your poses. You can really work on getting high with those heels and maybe rocking those toes way back. You dorsiflex those toes towards your ankles. Good. Let's do one more rock back with the toes and release that down. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see me. We're going to do the same side with a bit of different variation. So now one heel is going to go up as the other heel goes down. I'm going to face you so you can see. So go ahead and ground into your left foot, right foot, and let the left heel come up a little bit. So I've got a bend in my knee. And then as that left heel lowers, I'm going to raise that right heel. And then I'm going to keep going. So as one heel lowers, the other raises. I'm going to try and do it slow. So maybe even in between, you have both heels up as one comes all the way up and one all the way down. Just keep going. Just notice what you notice. It's pretty challenging for me. Keep breathing. Good. Let's do one more. Let's end with that right heel down and just shake it out. Good. So a little bit of balance warm up. From here, we're going to take chair pose, which is really nice for building strength in the back. So let's start with the feet pretty wide, at least hip width, hip point width. You might want to even take them a little bit wider. And you're going to hinge, start with your hands on your hips, hinge right at the hip crease as you drop your bum a little bit. Good. Trying to keep this neutral spine, so you'll notice if you're over arching or over tucking, and find that in between. You might just stay here, hands on the thighs. If you want to extend the arms forward, just reach the arms out like you're serving a tray first. And then if that feels good, you can start to turn the palms inward to face one another and extend the arms to the sky. And again, as you extend the arms, you don't want to jut the hips forward. Just let those arm bones come back. Find your range of motion where everything else stays steady. And breathe. Utkatasana. Lots of names for this one. Start to press into the feet, release the arms down. We're going to do another chair pose. So you can start with hands on hips or hands to the sky. Hinge, find that neutral spine. And then arms, maybe you stay in this serving arm variation. You can bring hands to heart center. or extend for the extended version. And breathe wherever you are. And let's start to straighten the legs, come up, and shake it out a little bit. Good. We're going to come into our first wall dog, and we'll do a couple poses, symmetrical poses of the wall in between asymmetrical poses to center. So this is one you can always come back to, even if we're doing another variation. Your hands are going to go to the wall at the height of your hips, and you step back and make this L shape. So I'm going for pretty much a 90-degree bend right at my hip crease. And I'm just turning a little bit so you can see maybe. So I'm going to bend my knees as much as I need to find that extension, pressing the wall away. And then maybe I can re-straighten my legs, but maybe I keep a little bend in the knees to create that long spine. Good. Take your ears right in line with the biceps. And look at your hands. See that they're even. Sometimes they're a little wonky. You'd be surprised. So just take a look. Spreading the fingers wide, lots of space. Up just a little bit. We're going to stay here, but we're going to stretch the calf. So let's take the right leg forward, bend that right knee a little bit, and we're going to stretch that left calf. So that left leg's going to stay pretty straight, and I've got my heel on the ground. A little space between the feet. You can use the wall to help you press into that heel. Move the head around, keep the neck long. You can step it back more if you like. Breathe here. If it feels good, you're going to straighten this front leg a little bit and hinge right at the hip crease as you reach the head towards the wall. That'll give you a little more stretch in the back of that right hamstring. And breathe. And here your elbows can bend a little bit. And step your way in. So bend that right knee as you step in. You're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to go straight into it. So that left foot's pointed straight ahead. Second toe mound straight ahead. Big step back here. As big as it feels good. But keep this back heel down. Good. And then as you bend into that front knee, and keep reaching that right heel down, trying to stretch the back of that right calf. And you can always walk it out a little further. You can always also be up on toes if that feels more steady. Press that right heel down. And then if it felt good on the other side, start to straighten that right leg a little bit. Doesn't have to be completely straight. Hinge forward, keeping this long spine. It's always your practice, so if you like to go deep and bring your hands down to frame that foot, you're welcome to. And just bend into that left knee again, step it all the way in, and just take a nice shake out, swing it out. I'm going to do a little bit of strength work at the wall. So we're actually going to do some push-ups. You know, like as we did for chaturanga on the mat, we're going to use the wall and we're going to push away and come back in. So basic push-ups with the elbows in pretty close. Hands start pretty much shoulder width. So bring those hands to the wall. And they're about the height of my shoulders. And just step back. So we're trying to find a kind of a plank position here, long spine. I've got a little bend in my elbows, but they're pretty much straight. And then as you rock forward onto the toes, you're going to bring your chest towards the wall and just press it back. So the heels might come up, they might not. If you can, just keep them grounded down and keep this long, straight position of the body. Look straight ahead. If you love to do push-ups, traditionally with your hands on the mat, you are welcome to. Let's do another one like that. And we're going to either do more of those, or I'm going to give you a variation you can play with if you like, that's a little more dynamic. So if you want to move to the second option, you're going to start with your hands on the wall, but you're going to press away and you're going to come back. So as if you were breaking your fall, you bend the elbows, you cushion it, and you come back. Just make sure your head doesn't go into the wall. You can also be here. Good. That's something that's like real life. As we fall, if we extend the arms straight, we're definitely going to injure ourselves. But if we can cushion a little bit, that can be an avoidance of injury. Good. Let's do one more. And release. And you notice we're still doing that rocking motion of toe to heel in that same position. And shake it out here. Maybe you're feeling your arms a little bit. Good. And take another variation at the wall. If you love that wall dog and you want to come right there, you can with that hip hinge. If it would feel good, I love this position. You're going to take the forearms to the wall. Elbows are about shoulder width, like dolphin arms. And step back here, reach the hips back as you press the forearms into the wall. Still going for that long, neutral spine. And hold here and breathe. Let your heart soften towards the wall. And keep a little lift in the armpits, ears in line with the biceps. And just breathe there. You can shift a little bit or just hold. This is hopefully a really nice shoulder opener for you. Good. And let's go ahead and come up. Press yourself all the way up. And just come to standing. You can do a little bit more balance work. So I have my chair here. I also have the wall. So if you'd like something, I encourage that. I'm going to face you for this one. I'm going to mirror you. So keep that right foot grounded. Spread the toes. And then just bend. Get that left heel a little lighter. And you're going to keep this left hip down as you just hinge right at the knee crease. And lift that left leg. Good. And just pause here for a moment. I'm going to face you again. So we're going to add a little bit of resistance with our own body. So you're going to take the heel of the hand. Don't let that leg come up, but try and resist that leg coming up at the same time. Good. So you're pressing leg to hand, hand to leg. Breathe here. Try to keep that left hip from rising up. Good, I'm just going to face you. And from here, I'm going to take that leg out to the side. You can keep that pressure to make sure that hip stays even. And just come out, externally rotate as much as you can. Flex that foot. Breathe. Start to bring it back forward and just release that foot to the earth. Good. And you can be doing this the whole time with a hand to help you balance. Let's do the other side. Left leg grounds, left foot. Spread the toes, feel all four corners of the foot. Hinge right at that hip crease as you lift that left knee, right knee. Trying to mirror you. And then same thing here, use the heel of your hand to press down and away. as you continue to lift that knee up. Keep this bend in the knee and the flex of the foot and create your own resistance. And just notice, you know, what you notice, differences side to side. Notice the feeling of the actions of this pose. Yeah, we're going to take it out to the side like we did on the other side. So from that 90-degree bend forward, start to open that femur up. Find a little openness for the hips. Good. And encourage that left hip to stay down, right hip. And let's bring it back forward and release. And just shake it out a little bit. Good. We're going to do a couple standing poses, and you have some options for this. So if you like to do standing poses with no support, you can just come lengthwise on your mat, take that left heel parallel to the back end of the mat, and then that right leg into a 90-degree bend for warrior two. If you want a little more stability, you can take that left heel to the wall, the whole blade edge or just the heel, bend into that right leg so you come towards a 90-degree bend, and that'll give you extra stability and balance. You can also do that with hands on something. So we're going to find warrior two in some fashion. I'll go ahead and do it with the heel on the wall. And same alignment applies here, so the hips are trying to open towards the side of the room, side of the mat, and check your feet that back foot is parallel or slightly pigeon-toed, and this knee is working towards 90 degrees, and it's aligned with the second toe mound. Good. And if you're ready, go ahead and extend the arms. You can always stay here. If you're at the wall, that back arm will be on the wall. That's okay. You can use it to rotate the shoulder back and reach the front arm. Turn the gaze towards that front middle finger. And just breathe here. Hold in your warrior two. You can move the head a little bit or just hold that gaze over the front middle finger. From here, we're going to come into side angle. So if you're at the wall, you're going to drop that front forearm to your thigh. I like to start with my hand on the hip and then reach the arm straight to the sky, just to begin. And if you want to go into a bigger side body stretch, turn that palm down so the thumb goes behind you. Reach through the fingertips and through the blade edge of that back foot. Going to turn. Everything else stays the same. The legs are the same. We're just trying to get a huge stretch through this whole, I don't know what side you're on, but that side. And take another breath. Reach as far as you can. And next breath, with the strength of your legs, go ahead and come all the way up. Good. Take the feet wide and pigeon-toed and just step it in and shake it out. And do the same thing on the second side. So again, your choice. This heel on the wall is really nice, even if you don't need it, to help keep grounding through that outside blade edge. So sometimes it's nice to play with, even if it's not necessary for your balance. Good. Bend into that front knee. Coming towards 90 degrees. Heel and arch aligned. And then again, warrior two. Reach through the fingertips. The back fingertips can be on the wall or extended. Arm can be extended. Take another breath here. The shoulders are right over the hips. We're not forward or back. And then you're going to bring that forearm to the thigh. We'll come into side angle. Second side, legs stay the same. Extend the arm to the sky, then turn it, reach away from you. Palm goes down, thumb goes behind you. Long side body stretch. And breathe. You're going to press into your legs with the strength of your legs. Come all the way up to warrior two. Hands to hips. Take both 10 toes forward and heel toe it in. Just shake it out for a moment. And take a wide leg forward fold. So you can do this a couple ways. You want to start with the blade edges of the feet pretty much parallel to the sides of your mat. So if you want to go into just a straight unsupported forward fold, you find that wide leg stance first. Blade edges parallel and start to hinge forward and bring the hands down. And once you get the hands down under your shoulders, then you have the option to either walk the hands out for a wide-legged down dog, or if you want to take a deeper fold, you can turn the fingertips behind you a little bit and hinge more deeply into that hip crease. And if you're using a chair, you could even have that chair facing towards you. Wide-legged stance, same thing. And this is a little more restorative if you want to rest the forearms, the head on the chair. That feels really nice. If you have that option nearby, you can take it. Coming back to symmetry in some way with that wide-legged fold. And breathe here. Allow everything to come back to center and release. Good. And start to come up. So if you're folded down, bring hands to hips. Use the strength of your core and legs to come all the way up. Good. And heel toe those feet in and shake it out. And do one more balancing pose because we have time. Do tree pose, which is just a nice go-to to kind of test yourself. If we do this pretty often, so you can kind of see the progressions day to day, but also some days are just not balancing days, so be okay with that too. Let's take with the left leg kind of out to a kickstand, so you can start with that left heel, kind of the right inner ankle. So you rotate that femur out. And you can stay here. You can stay here with balance. You're still working your balance. Or you can start to bring that foot up to somewhere on that right leg. So it could be below the knee, on the shin. You can give yourself an assist, come up a little higher. Just find your version of tree pose. And wherever you are, you're creating one trunk, so foot presses to leg, leg to foot. Find center, root down, and then use that rooting to lift up through the crown of the head. Hands can stay on the chair or the wall, or they can come to prayer, or any other arm variations that would feel good to you. If you want to play, start to extend the arms up. And the arms can move too. They don't have to stay steady. They can have a little flow to them. Just find your version of tree that's most expressive for you today. And let's release that side, so you can bring hand to something if you like, or just release down. Shake it out. Second side, if you need to adjust yourself, you can turn left foot grounds, that's your standing leg. Turn that right femur out. And then find your tree, wherever it is today. And just notice differences side to side. Again, I'm trying to create this right hip down so it's not hitching up. The hips are pretty square as much as I can, creating that action of foot to leg, leg to foot. Good. There can be a little movement in your tree. If you would like to start coming to full balance, just take the hands off any support. This side is not as steady for me. That's okay, it's where I am today. If you can find a full breath, then you're doing it right. That's really it. Now let's take another breath here. And then just release hands to hips and shake it out. Let's take one more wall dog. So turn to face the wall, hands to the height of your hips. Step the hips back, find this 90-degree bend. If you prefer wall puppy or wall dolphin, you can take that. Find symmetry in some way. And that could be a forward fold. Lots of options, I know, but sometimes options are nice. Good. And then go ahead and start to walk out. We're going to come down to our backs in a moment. I just want to show you what we're going to do once we're there. We're going to do a hip stretch, a figure 4 stretch, and a quad stretch, and then we'll stretch with our strap, if you have a strap. If you don't, you might want to grab something. We don't have to have it, but a strap or a scarf or something, so if you want to pause and grab that, you can. And then if you've left and come back, I'm going to show you what we're doing. So we're going to just do a figure 4 stretch. Just imagine I'm lying down, crossing the ankle over, and if I can, I'm going to pull that left thigh towards me. Good. And now we're going to come to our side, and we're going to do a quad stretch. You can also do this on your belly. Grab the ankle, that can also be your strap. Flex the foot a little bit. Extend the knee away. We do that on both sides. We'll do both of those on both sides with some rocking in between. And then we're going to take our stretch with our strap, our supine Asta Padangusthasana. So just imagine I'm on my back. We're going to extend, hook that right foot to start, extend it, the foot towards the sky. We're going to open it up. We're going to bring it across. And we do both sides. And then we'll settle into Shavasana. So just a little detail of the journey we're going to take. If you'd like to just go to Shavasana now, you're of course welcome to. You do you. If you'd like to come down and do a couple more stretches, I'm going to talk us through it. And I'm going to start in that same constructive rest, but my heels are right in line with my sit bones and knees are aligned with the sit bones as well. I'm going to take that figure 4 stretch first. So take that left ankle over the right knee. And you might just stay here. If you can, you're going to start to lift that right foot and grab the back of the thigh or the shin. Keep this left foot flexed so that that ankle is flat. And just breathe here. You can move a little bit or hold. Take another breath here. I'm going to release this side. I'm going to do the same thing on the second side before we come for that quad stretch. So flex the ankle, thread it through. Notice this side compared to the first. You can rock or hold. let's release that foot down to the earth. We're going to come onto our side for a quad stretch. So I'm going to start on my right side so you can kind of see. And I can come down to the support of my arm or all the way to the earth. Take that heel back, grab the ankle, and you're extending that knee away from you long as you keep the tailbone long as well, and then start to open the front of that thigh. And breathe. And that knee's not going way up, it's staying pretty close to the right knee, my right knee. I have my left ankle. And let's release that side. You can shift your hips. If you're on your belly, you could do both sides on your belly as well. This is a little more gentle. Maybe you have a wall there you could even press into and play with that. They're just all different sensations. Always have some play with your practice. We'll give you some basic ideas and cues, and then you find your pose for your body. And let's release that side and come to your back. Let's rock the knees side to side a couple times for windshield wipers. So feet wide, knees knock knee in together, and just rock it side to side. Good. And if you want to do that stretch with a strap, and you might be able to just grab your foot with your hands and be on your back. That is not in my practice. So I'm going to loop my right foot first, just the ball of the right foot, and then allow the shoulders to come back down. I'm just going to stretch that foot straight up towards us first, so my right foot's still in line with my right shoulder. And if this is a lot on your grip, you can loop that strap a little bit and maybe not have to grip so hard. Take that strap into your right hand if you have the right foot up. And I'm going to run into the wall, but you're going to open this leg as far as you can out to the right. And that leg can be straight. I'll move over a little bit. And you can let that keep going. You can settle that right elbow on the floor. Breathe here. Start to come back towards the midline. Come to that starting point, the first variation. Take your strap into the opposite hand. And before you roll that right hip, keep the right hip grounded and just come a little across the midline. Now this left leg can be bent or it can be extended. So we're trying to get that outer kind of IT band stretch. And then when you're ready to twist, just let that foot continue to fall over. That right hip can roll to stack on the left. That right knee can be bent or straight. Extend the right arm. If it feels good, turn and look towards the right. Should feel like a really nice twist. Let's come back to center. You can do the same thing on the second side. So shift yourself back to center if you've moved at all. Loop the left foot. And again, that right foot can stay on the ground. If you extend the right leg, just make sure it stays active with the toes flexed towards your knee and that inner thigh pressing down. And breathe here, working the left thigh away from you as the foot comes closer. strap into your left hand. Start to let that open out to the left. Just go as far as feels good to you. Maybe all the way to the ground, maybe not even close. Let's bring that leg back towards center. And then at center, you're going to switch your grip again. Keep that left hip down and just come across just a few inches, not much at all, to get that outer IT band stretch. And then you can let that whole hip roll as you bring that left foot towards the earth, coming into a big twist. Extend the left arm, turn to the left, look left, if that feels good. And breathe. Let's bring that leg back to center. Go ahead and release your strap. Release both feet to the earth. And we're going to head into Shavasana next, your final rest. So feel good to do something symmetrical before that. You can do a happy baby. You could just rock those knees side to side a little bit. If you like plow pose or shoulder stand, anything like that at this point in your practice, it's your time to just do any last poses that would make your practice feel complete and like you've kind of addressed every need you have in your nervous system, in your physical body. Give yourself that time. And when you're ready to settle into Shavasana, it's, whatever feels good to you. If you want to just lie out flat on your back in a traditional corpse pose, you can do that. Maybe you have a pillow or a blanket nearby. Rolled blanket could go under the knees. So that would be just a nice pose on your back. Little elevation for the knees is nice. Arms out in low V. Put your head back if you can. You also have a couple other options. So if you have a wall nearby, you could take your legs up to the wall. I've got my right booty towards the wall, so I hitch that right booty up, kind of half up, and then as I lie back, I can just let those legs swing up. So my butt's pretty close here. And this is okay for me. If you're tight in the hamstrings, this might be too much. It should feel good. And I can tell my low back's not grounded, so if you can, get that whole low back grounded. You can also take a blanket and place that under your hips. And for a lot of people, this feels just really good and restorative. You can do the same pose with your legs on a chair, same benefits. And that would just look like the seat of your chair facing you, or the back. You just want to be able to thread your feet through. And then the calves would go into the chair. And you want to bring that chair right into the creases of the knees. And same thing here, you can have something under the hips, or a little weight on the hips is nice. So beauty is if you want to pause here and really set yourself up in a lovely Shavasana that works really well to you, even if it takes a little setup. Give yourself that time. This is just as important as the rest of the practice, where we let that effort go and just come and let ourselves surrender and be soft. As you find that Shavasana, your version. And this is that practice of complete surrender. Oh, you might be in different positions, but whatever's touching the earth, allow that part of the body to get heavy. Wherever you are, the weight of the hips can settle, the weight of the back of the hips. Let the head rest heavily into the earth, so the back of the head softens. Let the eyes rest back into the sockets. Eyes can be closed or have a soft gaze. And start to soften, release any tension in the face. Let those creases in the forehead, if you have them, soften out a bit, or just imagine that. Soften the temples towards the earth. Let the cheeks soften. Release any tension in the jaw. You can always do a couple big yawns or say the alphabet to make that kind of a nice stretch and release is nice. And then continue to release, feel the broadness of those collarbones as the arm bones get heavy. Back to the forearms and the hands as if they're magnetized to the earth. Let that whole rib cage soften and broaden. Check in with the belly, let the belly stay soft so you can allow the breath to fill the belly with no effort, release any effort of the breath. As the belly broadens, that low back, that sacrum area can take up a lot of space as well. It's getting a little bit wider. And just continue that release of tension as you go down through the buttocks, release the buttocks. Any tension in the hip joints. Soften the thighs and the hamstrings. Soften your knee joints. Relax through the calf muscles. The shin bones, let the shin bones settle in. And continue that softening, that letting go through the ankles. And all the way through to the tips of your toes. Completely letting go. As the body becomes still, as you work out any physical fidgets, now the mind might start talking to you. So if those thoughts start to come up about what's happening tomorrow or what's not happening these days, just come back to the flow of your breath and just notice that thought and let it go. Try to stay really present for these last couple minutes. Noticing each breath. That thought comes in, just notice it and release it. You can do that 1,000 times. This is just a being pose. There's no doing, no ticking of boxes, nothing to tend to or no one to impress. Just here for yourself, for your nervous system to relax. Coming into that rest, that relaxation state. And even this bit of relaxation here will help your nervous system as those stressful events unfold, or those times where we're uncertain and our heart rate races and we get a little more fight or flight impulse. This relaxation will help us keep some equanimity in those moments. And coming back to your breath is a really powerful way to start to center and come back to yourself. A couple more rounds of breath here. I'm going to read a short poem. This is by Donna Fald's Go In and In. It's called Let It Go, very fitting. Let go of the ways you thought life would unfold, the holding of plans or dreams or expectations. Let it all go. Save your strength to swim with the tide. The choice to fight what is here before you now will only result in struggle, fear, and desperate attempts to flee from the very energy you long for. Let go. Let it all go and flow with the grace that washes through your days, whether you receive it gently or with all your quills raised to defend against invaders. Take this on faith. The mind may never find the explanations it seeks, but you will move forward nonetheless. Let go, and the wave's crest will carry you to unknown shores, beyond your wildest dreams or destinations. Let it all go and find the place of rest and peace and certain transformation. Complete surrender. It's a difficult practice. It's a lifelong practice. So just keep coming back to it. You're welcome to stay here for a few more minutes, even many more minutes. If you're ready to come up and transition, you can come to your side first. And just curl into that fetal position, curling into your own heart and checking in with the heart. What's true for you today? What's important? What's not important any longer? And then, as you're ready, you can press the hands into the earth. Support yourself as you come all the way up, and let your head be the last thing to come up. We'll just take a quick moment to close our practice as you all come to seated. So you don't need to take any elaborate seat, but cross-legged, or if you want to sit on your chair or your shins, bring your hands to heart center in Anjali Mudra. Keep the chest lifted and just drop your chin towards your heart, bowing into your own heart, acknowledging that divine teacher within, knowing there's nothing missing. Everything we need is already inside of us. And as we recognize that light within ourselves, we recognize that in each other, that light that connects us all. And we bow to that connection, and that tapestry that we're all part of. And thank you for sharing these practices with us and continuing to support Shine through this time of different times we're in now. And with that gratitude, I bow to each of you. Namaste. Thanks everybody. Hope to see you again for the next one. We'll keep adding practices. If you're able to stay longer, and just let yourself rest. Otherwise, until next time.